I'm a dad. I'm a dad. D-A-D-D-Y. 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 I'm a dad. Dad. I'm a dad. D-A-D-D-Y. 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 I'm a dad. All right. Welcome back. And we are back. Another episode of Pop Bear Podcast.
Yeah, I'm Tim.
I'm Josh. And we're going to give you our experiences, dads.
Yeah.
By no
Unprofessionally professional?
Yeah, by no means is it to be taken professionally.
Oh, no.
But if it helps, it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you saw today's topic, we're going to be talking about just from a dad, what that looks like in our households, the different levels of it. We'll get in the nitty gritty. So this one could be controversial depending on how you run your household.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, but first, what's going on the podcast today?
Ooh, yeah. All right. So today's version of That's Going on the Podcast, for me this week, right? Some of you know I manage a baseball team.
Major?
Little League.
Yep.
7-year-olds, right? And this week it can get pretty intense, competitive, intense.
Okay.
I don't usually take it too serious because they're 7.
Yeah.
I know. They're 7, whatever.
They're not signing contracts.
But this one time they did almost get me out of character. So we're playing, right? 2 outs. Our team's down by 3 or 4 at the time. We got one of our girls going up to hit. She doesn't hit very much. So when she does hit, it's a big deal. So she goes, hits the ball, hits it. I guess she throws the bat back, right? I don't see it. I guess her natural swing and then coming back, she lets the bat go.
Okay.
And it hits the catcher in the foot, right?
Oh.
So I'm sure in real baseball, that's a rule. You can't do that or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to throw the bat.
Yeah, but
She's 7.
She's 7. It hit the kid's foot. No harm, no foul to me. She makes the base. I'm like, let's go. Base is loaded with our best hitter coming up. I'm like, we got a game. These kids need this. Goes to me, goes, she's out. I'm like, what happened? Did I miss something? He goes, she threw the bat. I was like, what do you mean threw the bat? Yeah, she threw the bat. It hit the catcher's foot. I'm like, is he okay? I turned around, the catcher's behind the plate like this.
Didn't even know.
Looking at butterflies and shit. So he called her out. It was like her first hit of the week. I mean, like, she was excited. I just had to bite my tongue and walk off, but I could not believe they would call a 7-year-old out on a technicality in Little League. That was one of the moments I was like, yeah, that was when I had to bite my tongue when I couldn't believe it. So
that's the one thing I've never understood with, like, I know in professional sports, when rules are interpreted, you often look for what was the why. Why did you do that thing that got you in trouble? Like, what's the malicious intent?
Right.
No 7-year-old's going to throw a bat backwards, hit the person in the foot, and be like, yeah, I meant to do that.
No, I mean, she was pure excitement.
Yeah.
Running a base. I mean, so.
Oh my God, that drives me nuts.
Yeah, that got to me. So that's what happened to me. And I looked him dead in the face and said, that's going on the podcast.
Oh my God. Mine's not quite as epic as that. Mine, so my that's going on the podcast moment actually happened today before we got here.
Mm-hmm.
I worked out this morning and I got up at like 8, went to the gym for a couple hours, and my wife has a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to a different gym. I go to the Y because I'm cheap and I don't really care. As long as there's weight to lift, that's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a personal trainer. And so she's going to the personal trainer. I'm finishing my workout. So in order for this all to work out, I took my oldest son, because he's old enough to go in child watch at the YMCA, worked out, picked my son up. Then I had to drive to her gym to pick up my other son because she brought that son. And then I had to take my car, which she had taken, home and leave her car because my car is the only one with a car seat for the baby. So she took my car. I took her car, had to drive to her place, pick up my car, drive home. It was just like in my head while I was doing it, I was like, there's got to be an easier way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There had to be a shortcut that I missed,
Right.
but it was just like I got to talk to somebody about this, so got to go on the podcast.
No, I mean that seems like a lot of work to be able to get 2 workouts in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and there are challenges when having kids in the gym. Like if you take advantage of the YMCA childcare hours, you got to work out within their hours or whatever.
Yeah.
But the having to do the 2 different gym things and driving to make that's a bit much.
Yeah, it was. It was not the easiest way to start the day, but it got better after that. I've had a good day so far.
All right.
So I can't complain.
Very nice. There we go.
Let's move on to our topic.
All right. So discipline from a dad.
Yes.
This looks different for a lot of people. I
Mhm.
understand that. And there's a lot of philosophy that comes to discipline. I think the thing too that is sketchy, or I guess maybe unconfirmed, is how well does it work in the long run?
Right.
You know, I don't know if there's any real study that's really reliable that says doing this way makes a better human, or
Oh.
doing this way. I don't know if discipline, I don't believe it's one thing in discipline. I believe it's obviously a whole lifetime of being
Yeah.
raised properly. But, you know, people have different philosophies.
There's too much. There's just too many variables. You can't be like, I'm always going to do this thing, and it's always going to be the right answer.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. It does vary. Like each thing does not always warrant the same punishment.
No.
So-
Even sometimes the same thing doesn't warrant the same punishment. Sometimes it has to be worse.
Very
So
good.
keep doing it, or
Yep.
maybe it's not the same circumstance that it happened under. You know.
No, very good.
Very
So
fluid.
true. So for me, talking about this kind of stuff, discipline, right? There's pretty much phases. I think phase 1, for me, is the warning.
Yeah.
So with 95% of offenses, you will get a warning,
Mhm.
right? Now there's some non-negotiables, and we'll get into that later. But most things warrant a warning, right? For example, I believe in communication. I don't believe in negotiation when it comes to kids. If I ask you to do something, there doesn't always need to be a reason why you didn't, or justification, or
Yes.
especially having a couple, you know, I get a lot of, well, Bella didn't do this, or
Oh,
Roman didn't
I
do.
cannot. I don't think I'm gonna be
Yeah.
able to do that.
No, that's not an option for me.
Mhm.
I don't, like you were saying, because I handled this that way doesn't
Mhm.
mean you get the same.
Right.
I asked you, I told you, this is your warning.
Mhm.
And that consists of, you know, usually the communication, or a lot of time, you know, the look. Like,
Oh yeah. The dad look.
so
It's
that's what a
you
warning
just
looks
drain
like.
all the emotion out of your face.
Yeah, that's what a warning looks like for me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So I call them mistakes, not warnings. Like
Mhm.
you made a mistake there.
Right.
Like and I definitely agree that like you have to handle it on a case to case basis. You can't have like a hard and fast rule like
Mhm.
you're going to get one warning and then it's done. Like sometimes that second time is an accident or unavoidable, or it's because you weren't clear. I know for a fact I have explained to my son three different different ways to do the same thing, and he still does it wrong.
Mhm.
And that's not just him being like, well, I'm not going to listen to you. It's like he still hasn't figured out what I'm asking him to do.
Right.
So like maybe that first time is like, dude, you gotta wipe off the seat when you pee on it.
Right.
Second one's like, or is it, well, I did.
Yeah.
And he wiped off like the top of the seat, like I'm not going to get more mad at him because he
Right.
did technically what I asked him to do, just
Right.
not in the right way. I'm like, dude, don't stand on the side of the toilet and pee against the wall.
Right.
Like
Sure.
we're still working on that one. It's driving me nuts, but
Yeah.
yeah. God bless potty training.
And an effective warning too, I think, comes with an explanation.
Yes.
So you're being warned. You were told not to do this. This is why you are not to do it.
Mhm.
And I always ask my kids, "Do you understand me? Do you need clarification?" I try to give that leeway, like, "This is your time to ask."
Mhm.
So it might be said 3 or 4 more times, but it's to make sure you're understanding why you are not to do it that
Oh, yeah.
way.
And that's where most of my arguments come from with
Mhm.
my son is I will repeat it because I
Mhm.
need you to understand what I'm telling you to do. And I'll say, did you hear me?
Right.
Did you hear what I said? What does it mean?
Right.
And then he'll be like, oh, I'm tired of talking about it. I'm like,
Mm.
well, you know what? That's why we're talking about it. Because if you're tired, you're not listening to me.
Right. Right.
And you
Yeah.
don't want the next step.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And with that being said, the next step, for me especially, is the correction phase.
Yeah.
Now, this is where you can branch off in multiple
Oh,
different
absolutely.
directions. So it looks different again for everyone.
Mhm.
That whether that be timeout, time in your room, loss of property, I like to
Oh, yeah.
say. It could be corrective action as far as like you're talking too much. Let's write why we're talking too much or why we shouldn't be talking. Right? You're gonna write that to your hand cramps. Those are
We shouldn't be
kind of
talking.
things. Yeah, those are the kind of things that I see as like a second phase to correction. What do you think about that?
I think, yeah, the correction is definitely the next step, right? Because you don't go nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give them a chance to adjust from their mistake.
Mm-hmm.
They made a mistake. You told them. Now you need to make sure that that mistake is not something that they're going to turn into a habit, right?
Correct.
So for me, it's like I specifically go to loss of property before I do basically anything else. Like, because most of the mistakes and things happen because you're not treating something with respect, or at least with my son, it's like, you got frustrated that your game died, so you threw it on the ground. Not okay. You lost the game. Sorry. That's just the way it works.
Right.
Or like, you got frustrated that the game wasn't going the way that you wanted outside, so you quit playing. Like, well, now you're done playing. You want to get back in, you're going to have to take a minute and think about it. Like, that's just, those corrections go from loss of privileges before I'm like, go sit in timeout. That's usually like the last one that I go to before I go up to like, you're getting it right now. So
yeah,
for me, I think timeout is effective if you use it less frequently.
Yep.
Especially because you can teach them when they need it. My son will put himself in timeout sometimes, not often, but sometimes. He's done it before. He's like, I need a break. I need to go sit down. I'm going to go sit in timeout. I'm like, great way to end an argument.
Yeah, very true. And that's the thing too, is that kids aren't as dumb or innocent as you think. They pick up on this stuff, and they pick up on your meter reading, and they know that line and where to toe.
Oh yeah.
So,
and they learn it early.
So as we're saying, like, it changes, like, the escalation, things like that.
Yeah.
They understand that. So they're going to test the limits.
Oh yes. They're going to push you.
It's unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how disciplined you think your kids are, there is a time, and it might not even be with you. It'll be outside the house. That's where a lot of the issues come.
Oh yeah.
It's not necessarily at home.
That's where they pick up the habits and things that they bring home and cause more problems. Like, they're not getting that from you guys, because I assume that you guys are great parents.
Sure.
But you're not always there.
No, you're not. And the thing is too, is that you might be a great parent, you might have great structure, but something you'll notice when you get to school age kids.
Oh yeah.
Everybody else's kids don't have great structure. And you want to do what your friends do, right?
Yeah.
So
you can't fix what they're exposed to.
No, it's the world.
Yeah.
You can only prepare them, right? There's good and bad in the world, and unfortunately, you can't shield them from it all. They have to learn. So all that good foundation you set at home needs to be really strong.
Really strong. Because
they're going to make mistakes and pick up kids' habits. And I'll give you an example. And this kind of leads into the third tier for me, right? Which after we've talked, punish with taking things away, putting timeouts and things like that. This is the ass whooping phase.
The nuclear option.
This is and there's
scorched earth.
Yeah, and there's some non-negotiables on this. If you have a problem whooping kids, then from here on out, I'm sorry.
You can fast forward. You can disagree.
You can disagree, but maybe listen and hear why. Right. Yeah. For me, it's not. I don't whoop my kids that often. I don't have to anymore. Right. But I did set a very early foundation.
Exactly.
So it does not need to be used much. Right. I believe what the Bible said, right?
Yeah.
Was it say, spare the rod, spoil the child?
Okay.
Right. So early on, there was
no rod actually used though. So
no, it's straight hand action.
Yeah. So we should probably define whooping, right? Like I'm not boxing my child.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a belt or anything like that. It is this is all I need to enforce the law most of the time.
Sure. So there's some things that come in with this that is going to warrant a whooping regardless. So for me, I am zero tolerance on disrespect, right? You would not disrespect me. You would not disrespect my wife. I don't have the issue with it, but I'm gone a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when they're going to test the most limits. When disciplinary is not there, which more times than not, it's dad, they're going to test that limit. They push it. And I'll get the call every now and then, like, talk to your son, talk to your daughter, this and that. They're not listening or whatever. I can usually get on the phone, FaceTime, have a conversation, and that correct it. There are times when that doesn't happen. And if I've given you that warning and you continue to push when I'm not there, now you've disrespected me because you don't think that I'm going to back up my words. I'm
Yeah.
not home. But also, mom shouldn't have to be the one to tell you we're
No.
the same person. You need to be listening.
Yeah.
So then that's going to
Yeah,
warrant an
mom
ass
should
whooping.
never have to call you.
Correct.
That's the dream. Of course, it's never the dream, but
Mhm.
that's the dream. Is like mom says something, it's law, right?
Mhm.
Or if she's the disciplinarian, you say something, it's law,
Mhm.
right? You should never have to go for backup.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's just not ever the case most of the time.
No.
For me.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's one that that warrants disrespect to others, right? That
Mhm.
that is outside of a mistake. So I'll give you an example. Last year, my son got on the bus, and this is something that kind of talked about. He's starting to get around their kids and pick up their language, and he's cussing on the bus now. He's starting to curse, and the bus driver's hearing him, and the
Mhm.
bus driver's telling him no. And now he does it again, right? So this is multiple occurrences in the same situation. So
With the bus driver.
with the bus driver.
Okay.
So you come home.
So that's where he's pushing.
That's where you're pushing. We have this conversation. I make sure you understand why, where you're hearing this, where you think this is okay.
Yep.
You've been warned. It happens again. Non-negotiable at that point.
How quickly after the conversation?
The next day.
Okay. See, so yeah, that is just disrespect.
That's disrespect.
It's not, I forgot that
you
we
didn't
had this
forget.
conversation.
Right. This
No.
wasn't week 2, 3 weeks go
No.
by and you slip up. This was next day. So
Mhm.
obviously you didn't take
It's
me
intentional.
serious.
Yep.
You're getting that ass whooped.
Yep.
And that's what it is. And like Tim said, it's not the overhand right and things like that. I am a little different. I use a belt. My kids are
Okay.
bigger,
Yeah, that's true.
and I don't want to hurt my hand.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. So I will be honest. Like I think I spanked Ben recently, pretty recently.
Mhm.
And ours is the same. It's disrespect, right? Usually what it is disrespect to my wife
Sure.
that I have zero tolerance for.
Right.
Like he will obey me because when I get to the point where he knows that he's on the line, he will back off. But with
Mhm.
my wife, they butt heads so frequently that line has just become, I think, a little blurred
Mhm.
as to where she will call me or whatever. She will do something that will stop it.
Mhm.
But for whatever reason, they were button heads. She screamed,
Mhm.
just yelled. And that's when I triggered myself, came back in, heard the stories, and he was not remorseful.
Okay. Yeah.
So I spanked him. I did spank. I'm not afraid to say that I spanked my child.
Mhm.
Was not, I mean, obviously it was not hard enough because he didn't even cry.
Mhm.
And my hand was like, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get away with just spanking you anymore, buddy.
Dude, they get bigger and their tolerance goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't take the pants off or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna emasculate him or whatever,
Right.
But like he was just angry after that. And I was like, okay, I clearly did not get my point across.
Yeah.
So we had to do some other stuff. It was not violent, but we had to talk about it. And that leads me to another thing.
Mhm.
We talked about the emotional intelligence of your children, right? How they're higher than what you think they are, right?
Okay.
So in this instance, right, after we had finished all of this, he was sad.
Sure.
He was crying. He had the frowny face.
Mhm.
But from my time with him, I knew that he was not sad.
Right.
He was manipulating me and my wife
Playing the game.
to not get more punishment out of what had already happened.
Mhm.
And so in the middle of this conversation that we're having, I stopped. I'm like, look, fix your face because I know you're not actually sad.
Yeah.
You need to tell me that you're not sad or start actually being sad. One of those two things needs to happen. And he was like, okay. And that's actually how we ended this argument, was like he realized that that's not going to work.
Right.
Like you hit the wall, you need to back off.
Right. No, and that's a good point. So they're going to play into your emotions, more so mom's emotions.
Oh yeah, it was definitely for mom that he was doing
Yes.
this.
My wife doesn't like to see me spank, but she understands the necessity of it.
Yes, same.
And when we first had this conversation, because I don't believe her mother was into spanking either, but when we first had the conversation, I'm like, okay, you want me to spank, right? Don't call me next time you ask for food. So which one's worse?
That's
You
a good
hearing
one.
him cry a little
Yeah.
bit, or you being fed up to the point where you need to call me?
Yeah, because that's her choice now. She
That's
can
your
choose.
choice. So
Yeah.
now you can deal with the way you want to deal with, right?
I like that.
That didn't last long, obviously. Obviously, go ahead, tap that ass.
Do what you gotta do.
Do what you got to do. And that's kind of been the sense, the sentiment moving forward.
Mhm.
Again, this foundation's been set early as far as like the zero tolerance on disrespect, that I can count on my hand. Maybe in the last 2 to 3 years, I've actually had to
Oh yeah.
whoop my child.
Oh yeah.
Like it is significantly
Mhm.
low. And mind you, again, I coach Little League. I see a whole bunch of different kids, and I see kids, and I'm like,
How are they doing?
They did what to who? And I mean, like,
Yep.
I'm whooping that ass in my head. I'm like, and and it translates. Like,
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's not just on the field. These kids are in trouble in school, things like that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
there's got to be some sort of just end to this. Like, you can't just keep telling them no.
No,
You got to
because it
have a
doesn't work.
plan. Yeah,
the no is clearly not working.
yeah. You got to have a plan.
No.
And if you guys think these, if you're little squeamish, you don't like whooping or whatever, let me tell you how I used to get my ass whooped.
Oh, yes.
I grew up single parent home,
Mhm.
single mom, 2 boys, right? Boys get to that age, they're a little bit harder to control.
Absolutely. For moms, absolutely.
Yep. Little testosterone start kicking in or
Yeah.
whatever. They think they know stuff.
They got their first muscle showing,
Yeah, they
maybe
think
maybe a
they're
little hair up here.
something, little whisker.
Yeah.
So my mom used to catch us in the worst times. My kids get a whooping, they know what time it is. Go get the belt, get in your room, I'll be there. Like, we know what's going down. Now my mama, she had to catch you off guard, right?
Yeah, just hunt you down.
Catch you down. Or she had a couple tricks that were undefeated.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Number one, if I knew I was getting a whooping, I acted up in my grandma's or we headed home, I know it's ass whooping time, I'll fall asleep in the car on the way home, right?
Yeah.
She'd carry me upstairs and everything and act like everything was good.
Everything's so good.
Oh,
Just
man.
sleep it off. It'll be all right.
Lay me in bed. She's like, good night, Josh. Love you. I'm like, good night, Mom. Love you. Oh, you're awake? Huh?
Oh.
Covers. Pow, pow, pow. Fuck me up. I was like, damn, she's good. The second trick she pulled, she did it. I called a drive-by.
Okay.
So she'd be driving the car.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Driving the car, right? And I'm thinking I'm getting away with stuff. I might be talking some smack in the back, thinking like, whatever, we'll get we going. I know when we get we're going, I can like try to get out of it. Nope. Mid-drive, one hand on the wheel out of nowhere, slips the heel, turns around, bow! Pop me mid-drive.
Didn't even slow down.
Never even swerved. Never even swerved.
That's veteran status.
Not even swerved. Or the worst, I'll tell you the last one she did. The worst one I would get is, you think you're safe coming out the shower?
Oh, no. It's when you're most vulnerable.
Oh, you're most vulnerable.
Nothing but skin. You can't cover anything.
Skin and nothing. And then look, you're a kid, so you don't want to drop your towel and show your nuts. So you're just sitting here trying to.
Yep, taking whatever she's giving you.
Wet and leather. Woo! So that's the kind of ass whoopings I got. But in all reality, they were deserved. We were fucking bad. So, and she's a single mom. She had to do what she had to do, man.
Oh, so yeah, she was dad and mom.
Dad and mom. I never had that foundation growing up.
Right.
As far as I was afraid of a father really taking it to me or whatever.
Yeah.
So the foundation was a lot harder to build for her,
Mhm.
which made the ass whoopings more drastic.
Yeah. Yeah, she had to compensate.
Correct. And they're willing to communicate when you're taking all the stress and do these other measurements.
She can't vent to anyone.
Yeah.
It's all her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
props to her.
How about you? Did you ever get that ass whooped?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did have the dad though.
Okay.
So the dad was the one who did it. My dad, he did use a belt.
Mm-hmm.
But it proves to the point of setting that foundation, because I think I can remember 3 times as an adolescent that he actually used it.
Okay.
And the rest was like very close threats. Like he would punch a wall instead of me or something like that. A handful of times. One time, I think I was like 10 or maybe 9, and me and my sister were fighting on the stairs. And I think she hit me in the nuts or something. And I'm like 3 steps above her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to punch you in the tit. And she's like
Nice.
7. Or I'm punching her in the chest. And she was like, I know you're going to punch me.
7, so we'll punch her in the chest.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to punch her in the chest. Like, ugh, crush her sternum or something, So I wind up and she's like, haha, what an idiot. I'm going to duck. So I punched her in the face because she ducked and knocked out one of her teeth.
Damn.
Yeah.
What kind of strength did you possess at 7?
I don't know. It was horrific
for
me, because she cried, ran downstairs. Dad was downstairs, and I was like,
"There's no way out of this.
There's no exit strategy." So I ran to my room, hid behind the door, like
They'll never find you there.
Like I don't think my brain had shut down. It was primal survival instinct. I was like, get somewhere
would,
cold and dark, and
maybe
he won't find me.
Yeah.
He walked in, and he was slick too. He walked in, opened the door all the way to where I was, and I think maybe it hit my foot or something. And he just stood there with the door locked, and I was like, "Okay."
Horror movie style.
Yeah, like I couldn't move. Yeah, like I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he closed the door a little bit, and then I started to move, and he hit me with the door, as I started to move, and then he gave me the whooping. He was like, I know you're right there. You stupid. The door would not have hit me had I not moved.
So you got a 2-piece.
Yeah, I mean, I deserved it. I don't blame it. And then there was one, the only other time that I remember, I did not deserve.
Yeah.
I did not deserve. But that was because my baby sister was kind of an asshole when she was little.
Yeah.
She followed me around everywhere, and she's 4 years younger than me. So
Yeah.
at like 10, a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old don't have a lot of things that they can do together that are okay. So we were playing outside, and I had neighborhood friends that we went and played with in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And behind my house, there's like forests. Like there's like this nature preserve thing at my house. And so we went back there and we run around and play and do stuff. And one day, me and my friends, we found this tree that was like leaning just a little bit, leaning. And we were like, we're going to break that tree. Because that's what stupid kids do. I don't know. We were like, I'm going to break this tree. And my little baby sister's like, I'm going to help, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so we're pulling the tree down, and it's bending. And she's behind the tree pushing it with her hands. She's little 6-year-old self not doing a whole lot. But we broke that tree. And then the part of the tree that was not disconnected slapped up and hit her in the face.
Ugh, yeah.
Okay. And she had a big old welt right here in her face. And at the time, I thought her brain was leaking out the front of her forehead.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
So I picked her up, carried her home, and she's crying. And I'm like, I got to get out of here before something bad happens.
Yeah.
So I left. No one cared because I was not the one crying.
Right.
Was out all day, came back home. And my dad was waiting for me with the belt on his lap. He's like, you told your sister to stand there while that tree snapped her. And I was like, wait, what? That's not what happened. I told her not to do that. But it was too late because she had already said that.
Yeah.
And it had sank in.
And the only evidence is the mark.
Yeah. Right. And I wasn't there to defend myself because I ran away because I was a coward. I was like, I don't want to get that whooping. I guess I deserved it because I ran away. If I had been there to defend myself, maybe. But I came back home and it was wham, wham, 2 real good ones, one on each cheek.
Yeah. And
I just walked around. I didn't even sit down for a little while. And, but like those 2 times, like those were dynamic, very important events. Like I still remember them, right?
Yeah.
After that, it was, do you want me to whoop you? Like,
yeah.
The question of it, like knowing that it was a reality was enough to stop whatever I was about to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No. So what it sounds like is like, even back then it rings true 20, 30, 40 years ago and probably prehistoric time. It's the family foundation.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to make sure that there is a line.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
And it needs to be understood and it needs to be reinforced. Right. Talking isn't always enough.
No, it's not.
So
especially not as your kid gets older.
Not as they get older. No.
No, you can talk to a 2-year-old in the way that you can talk to like a turtle.
Yeah.
Like turn them away. Like, hey, don't do that anymore. But like a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old, they know.
Yeah.
That what they did was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when you have to start finding something else.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I look at like this because no one likes hitting your kids if you don't have to.
No, I feel terrible.
Seeing their sad face and shit like that, and you got to still keep the stern face because it is discipline in that nature. But I look at it very simply, man. Either you whoop their ass or life does.
Yeah. That's very true.
You get away with a little bit more at home than the world will give you, right? Because then you got Johnny Law on you, depending on how it escalates. So whether it be with school, work, law, whatever, you be the first to whoop their ass and not let life do it for you.
Yeah.
So
I think it needs to be justified. And I admit that I hate doing it. I really don't enjoy doing it. It's not something that I like doing. But I am willing to do it because it ain't going to be easier when you're out in the world. Like, it's not going to be a spanking. It's going to be like a gun or handcuffs or, like you're going to have a lot. Yeah. Like you're going to have a lot worse to deal with than a sore butt for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. I agree. No, absolutely. Well, tell us what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? Are there other methods, other routes you suggest or things you tried that worked or didn't work?
Yeah.
So
parenting is evolving. So, maybe there's some stuff we haven't tried. Let us know.
Let us know. All right, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Like, subscribe, share.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
All right.